Thank you so much, everybody, for joining this Lunch and Learn. My name's Amy Aitken and I work for the Boost team. And these sessions are organised in partnership with our lovely colleagues at the North Cumbria Knowledge and Library Service. So today we've got our guests, Mabel and Caroline Claisse, and they've come to speak to us about their insights from Erica, which is creative engagement with groups of resettled migrant mothers. Next slide, please. So as many of you may know by now, our Lunch and Learn sessions happen roughly every month, and they're a space for colleagues to come together across health and care in the North East and North Cumbria to share experiences, tell others about the improvement work that they're doing, and just give the opportunity for others to learn something new. We're focusing on quality improvement and be signposted to other contacts and other resources that are out there. Next slide, please. Just some protocols for today. So it'd be great if you could turn your webcams off for now. Please stay muted when you're not speaking. Do use the chat for questions and contributions throughout, and there'll be a little bit of time at the end to cover those off. Please listen with respect and be present, and do share and spread the learning from today with your colleagues and other people as well. We are recording, so please just bear that in mind as we go through. Okay, so I'll hand over now to Caroline and Mabel. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear us all right? Yeah, so I'm really pleased that you can come along to listen to our presentation, which is about Erica. Next slide. So what is Erica? What is Erica? Well, the original name for Erica was about engaging Roma women in the co-creation of an antenatal care information resource. But we recognize the fact that there are really large maternal health inequalities and outcomes among underrepresented and underserved groups of mothers newly settled in the UK. So, which is why we have kind of changed the R in Erica to resettled migrant mothers. So what are our aims? We aim to understand their needs and preferences and to co-create an information resource, as well as to explore design opportunities for the resources that we create. So our approach is qualitative, participatory, and also inductive, meaning bottom-up rather than top-down. And we employ a kind of interpretive analysis to the recordings that we made. And it's also about meeting women where they are, because a lot of research with communities is about, getting them to come to university spaces or convenience spaces for ourselves. But we made an effort to go out to the community, meet them in familiar surroundings where they feel safe, which is really important, because if they're sharing their pregnancy journey, some very intimate and very sensitive experiences, they need to be done in a spirit of mutual trust. So we employed creative methods to generate conversations and findings about their maternity needs and recommendations. And not just creative, but co-creative. So we work alongside them to create outputs that are tangible and that can be tested in the field, can be usable and useful for both birthing people and health professionals like yourselves, some of you. And we expanded the model of engagement with Roma to reach other groups of women. So Erica 2, the set of workshops were done with Arabic speakers. And in it, we were able to test the idea of replicability, whether we could reproduce the same set of workshops with other groups of women. And we've done quite a lot of dissemination work. We've had quite positive comments about what we've done, and the networking led us to Erica 2A. So now I need to explain that. So originally, the local maternity and neonatal service folk that I spoke to recommended that we should try to do the same thing with Arabic speakers. But there are two groups of Arabic speakers, we realized. So the first group that we worked with were mainly from the Middle East. And we discovered that we needed to also work with North African Arabic speakers who are quite a different group altogether. Next. So to answer the question about what we did, I need to really acknowledge the role of gatekeepers. They were really key in helping us to recruit the women. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to do what we did. And Erica too built on the foundations of Erica, because in the case of Arabic speakers from the Middle East who are Muslim, their husband's agreement had to be sought for their involvement. And the lovely thing is that the meaningful activities of Erica provided the reasons for their wives' involvement. So a lot of this recruitment was done by the community coordinator and facilitator, so we really owe a lot to them. And as researchers, we worked hard to establish trust and rapport with the women. So some of them might have their children with them, and we played with them, for example. And also I wanted to highlight the partnership with Integration Station Community Interest Company, because they were the ones who provided the accessible venue, and you'll have a picture of the venue in one of our slides. So next, I would like to talk about the Erica model and the workshop outline. So we did 2 sets of workshops, one set of workshops in 2023 and another in 2025. As you can see, the first few workshops were about the women sharing their stories. It's about storytelling, about their experiences of pregnancy. And then after that, getting them to kind of distill a common pregnancy journey so that we could highlight the main issues that they all faced. And then we also explored online, publicly accessible antenatal resources with them, getting their feedback and awareness of them available to them. Also pregnancy apps, and then we explored ideas for a new resource and spend the rest of the workshops in developing the community resource. So you'll notice for Erica too, we had an extra workshop to develop the community resource because we recognized in Erica 1, we could have spent more time doing that. And the nice thing was that we had a debrief and a get together to talk about the workshops. And also in the case of the Arabic speakers, we had a bit of a celebration as well. Thanks. So here is Integration Station CIC, which is on Gateshead High Street, very easily accessible by the women familiar to them. And that's the interior of the center. I also need to acknowledge the role of Open Lab, the staff there, in helping us to publicize our outputs, and help with the video recording of participants for the webinar that we had in, 2024? And also in getting the letter to Dilla, which was the output from the work with the Arabic speakers, get it animated, digitally animated, which we might be able to share with you, but we might not today. Also acknowledging our advisors from HREF, some of you may know them, our colleagues from the university, health professionals, and MVP coordinator from Gateshead, yes. And our funding, we mustn't forget them, UKRI, MRC, ESRC, EPSRC as well. Next. So, who else was involved? Of course, the workshop participants. So in the case of Erica, these are Czech, Slovak, Roma. We did try to work with Romanian Roma to start with a few years ago, but that didn't work out. But the Czech, Slovak, Roma were a lovely lot of people. A small number were able to communicate in English. They were mothers from a range of ages and backgrounds, variety of numbers of children, and you'll notice we have one grandmother at each set of workshops, and that was nice because they were able to tell us about the experiences of their daughters and their pregnancies. So in the case of the Roma, we also held 2 additional workshops before the 9 workshops to sort of break down any barriers possible, and we got them to talk about their migration stories. Okay, so among the Arabic speakers, the workshops with the Arabic speakers, they were mostly from Iraq, Syria, and Iran, and they were mostly Kurdish. And it was complicated a bit by our interpreter slowly having to pull out halfway, and we had women interpreting for each other, which was quite interesting. And again, they were from a range of ages and backgrounds, and we even had one Orthodox Christian. Okay, so Caro's going to take over from here.
Yes, so this is giving you a little overview of the type of creative output we did with the women. So all the session had some creative design-based activities to try to help or support the women to tell the stories. And yeah, here with the Roma woman, it was really important for both that the woman would choose what they wanted to create at the end, even though the time was quite short, But yes, so we presented them with different means for resources, example of ways of doing some kind of resources like storytelling, and so we had different options or example to start with. And so the Roma woman wanted to do some kind of little booklet, so we went with the idea of the zine, which is a kind of DIY little folded booklet. So they contributed reflecting on the themes and the messages they wanted to share. They contributed to the zine through a couple of sessions by making some collages, drawings, and also refining some of the key messages. And for the zine, actually, there was one of the key messages was around emotional, mental kind of well-being. They wanted really to highlight the challenges of some of them encounter, or they wanted to share with another woman in their community more about the kind of mental health aspect. So we had quite a bit of that in the zine. And the zine also was a vehicle for us to continue discussing those kind of themes and insights we had with the women throughout the project. And then with the Arabic-speaking women group, they decided, in the end, we decided together to write a letter. So for both projects, we used character-driven scenarios, like kind of storytelling ways of getting the women to step in the shoes of one of the women who would arrive in the UK, and what kind of messages or things they would like her to know or experience. So for Dilla, which was the character for the second project, the woman kind of co-wrote a letter to her, featuring some key information that they wanted her to know. And then the letter, we talked about the potential of visual storytelling. So it was then transformed into or translated into an animation, collaborating with a colleague here in Open Lab. So yeah, in the end, we had the paper-based version and animated version. And here, I guess we've done some reflection on the power of storytelling in those both projects, and the output really providing a kind of alternative ways of visual resources that we may be familiar. But yeah, those kind of present alternative with new ways of engaging around the topic or sharing stories and information from a community based perspective. Yeah. And for both projects, field testing or kind of sharing the co-created output was important for us. So, for example, in the case of the second project with the Arabic-speaking woman, we were able to organize a screening at integration station with around 20 women who gathered there, in addition to the women who took part in the project. And we kind of, again, have a little bit of a celebration or like and discussion around the resource, and gathered some of their feedback. And overall, it was quite positive. And as Mabel mentioned, because this group is very diverse, we got additional funding to do a follow-up engagement with a group of North African Arabic-speaking women at the Angelou Center here in Newcastle. So we had 9 participants, and it was interesting. In this case, 6 of them were on a spouse visa, which wasn't common in the other groups. So we used, again, the co-created output. It was only one session in this case, like a half-day workshop. So we used the letter to Dilla as a point of departure to get the feedback, but also to get the conversation going and learn about their experiences of pregnancy here in the UK. So yes, and I guess that highlight the diversity of experiences that we were able to capture, following up from the engagement with the Arabic-speaking woman in Erica too. Yes, so pass back to Mabel. You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, so what was the outcome? I think in this slide, I've tried to sort of pull together the main themes that came up from all the interactions we've had with the women. I think it was important that rapport was built so that they could really talk to us honestly in a safe space, and eventually they were able to mutually support one another as well, which was positive. And their accounts suggested a link between miscarriage and teen pregnancies. Several of them had experienced teen pregnancies as well as miscarriage in those pregnancies. And there was right throughout all their accounts was this lack of the usual support networks available. They missed those networks in their countries of origin, and they felt very alone. And yeah, so resettled mothers also include those on a spouse visa, as Caro mentioned, and they also had faced issues of isolation and lack of support. The differences in maternity care between the countries also indicated the need for kind of like a visual NHS roadmap for them to help them to understand what it is like to have to access healthcare here in the UK. But when they did face difficulties like having to wait, or all the different bureaucracies they faced, they resorted to their overseas networks or online to go and resolve some of their questions. There was evidence of suboptimal care verging on racist attitudes. And this signaled the need for women to have access to complaints procedures. Some of them told us some quite horrific stories and not knowing how to complain. So I think that was quite an important finding. And among all of the women, this issue of the maternity exemption certificate and free prescriptions, it was unknown to most of them. They didn't know about it, and they were paying out of their own pockets. Another finding was this need for privacy in consultations. And some of the women had very strong views about getting women to learn English to be able to communicate with health professionals directly. And on the other hand, we had another woman, I was just reading the results of our report, who was saying that she did have ability in English, but her accent was not understood. So there are issues there too around language and communication. There was a prevalent use of digital media, which was a very interesting finding, but also concerns about women who were not literate, even in Arabic, who depended on YouTube videos in Arabic. So this points to the role of digital tools. So there's quite a lot of scope for further development, especially in computing sciences and Caro. Yeah. Next. Yep. So we've been sustaining the work by publicizing the outputs, the Romazine and the letter to Dilla. Here you will find the QR codes for our blog posts, our reports, our online resources, as well as our publications in major journals. And I've been doing dissemination. I've got a contact in Newcastle GP Services. HAREF, the Roma Support Group is a UK-wide support group too, and I've been in touch to share the zine with them. And then, as I mentioned, LMNS, the Equity and Equality Steering Group, I presented there as well. I'm also part of the Maternity Stream, which is a kind of network of academics with strong interest in migrant mothers. And I'm a member of the NIHR Maternity Disparities Consortium here. And of course, there's conferences, but we would ideally like to see the partnership with the CIC continuing. You know why? Because they have contacts with a lot of different communities, up to 13 communities. So there's scope for a lot of work, which can be very exciting depending on funding, as you probably appreciate. Thank you very much. I think that's it, isn't it?
Thank you so much for sharing that. It sounds like an absolutely fantastic piece of work. And I really loved what you kind of described about all that relationship building work that you did, which we know is so important in terms of the rapport with the women themselves and the children and with one another as well. So fantastic. I'd like to open it up now. If anybody wants to turn the camera on and come off mute to ask a question, feel free to pop your hand up, put questions in the chat. If there's anything particular, there's nothing there yet. Yeah, a quick question from me. You know, how did this project come about? What kind of led you up to this point?
So I've been very interested in migration for a long time in my 20-year career. And I've also been very involved in the community, you know, as a volunteer, and that's why it came to my attention that the Roma community were really quite. There wasn't enough understanding of them, and they were difficult to reach, according to a lot of my contacts. But the work that was happening inspired me to sort of do this work with them, especially when my research moved into the area of maternity care. And so it's mainly through volunteering in the community that I even met Caroline. Interestingly, you know, it's serendipity, really. And so we're really grateful that we actually managed to work together, get the funding, and to get the work done over the past few years. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Claire, in the audience, I notice you've turned your camera on. Would you like to come in and ask your question?
Oh, thank you. So hi everyone, my name's Claire Bainbridge and I'm the lead midwife for safeguarding here at North Cumbria. I've been involved in working quite closely with the LMNS around our migrant pathway and the My Maternity profile, just to try and support women who might struggle to have a verbal voice in having a voice and being able to communicate their needs, their preferences and their wishes. It's just interesting that hasn't come up, which makes me think we probably need to promote that far more amongst our maternity care. So yeah, that was really interesting. Thank you.
Good stuff. And Steph saying great presentation, thank you. Heard Mabel speak before, but this was the first time hearing about Erica too, so really interesting to hear that. So thank you so much for that comment. Any other questions?
Can I ask a question to the group? What in particular did you learn from our presentation that you hadn't known about before?
Good question.
This is learning and improvement, isn't it? This community.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, feel free to pop your hand up or pop something in the chat. I think from my perspective, you know, we do a lot in Boost around working with communities. So it's really great to see that work in action and people kind of doing it well out there, absolutely, in terms of that co-creation and yeah, all the things that we recommend that people do, getting out into communities and breaking down those barriers. Did you find, was there any particular kind of resistance or challenge along the way that you kind of faced with the groups?
It took a while for the Roma women to kind of warm up, you know, and which is why I started off with telling my own migration story, because I'm Singaporean Chinese, and I shared some of my own experiences with racism, and I think that helped to break down the barriers, and they were able to share their own experiences as well. But I think it's all down to the community facilitator, the coordinators who have that great relationship with the women and they were able to sort of win their trust, you know. And like I say, Erica was the foundation for Erica 2 and Erica 2A, because they were able to refer to the work we did, the posters we produced, the zine, and that interested, that broke down the barriers. Anything else, Caro?
Yeah, I was wondering also around the expectation or that we had we put on people. So I guess it's understanding that the women came with different expectation of the workshop or with their own motivation to do different things. So some of them were here also because they just wanted to be here with other women, and also for example in the case of the Arabic speaking women, they wanted to improve their English. So they were maybe more at the start of a while in the background, and we had just to make sure we understood that there was different people wanted to participate in different ways, and it was okay to remain, silent in the background. And so we had those kind of ground rules at the start, like we kind of co-designed this kind of rules for the space for engagement, and we acknowledged that it was fine if people wanted to stay silent, but as long as they respected or didn't kept confidentiality as well as what was said in the space. But yes, and then gradually some of the women also shared some of their experience, but just understanding that they all came with their different motivation and expectation of the workshop. So they were not all here at the start to take part in a research project, right? They came to the space to be together, and it was an opportunity for them to come and do things together and share experiences and learn from each other as well, and or learn English, for example, improve their English. Yeah.
Yeah. But what my concern is about it's very well producing the outputs. How is it going to be used? How is it going to be useful to people like you in the group, I mean, we are trying to promote it among the communities themselves, but it's also about health professionals making use of it to break down, to kind of be like a link to break down your barriers. You might have barriers as well that need to be broken down, and this could be a tool. These outputs could be a tool, could be tools to go about building the relationship with your patients or the women that you meet or birthing people.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a couple of comments in the chat here. This is the first time some of our participants have heard about the project, and it's amazing work. Thank you for sharing. Great to hear that somebody's doing this work. So yeah, interesting and definitely food for thought there in terms of how people take that forwards. Any other thoughts or questions from anybody?
Someone has posted the maternity migrant pathway. We might be able to sort of develop that for our resources, maybe.
I think it's Claire, yeah. So it'd be nice to read more about the work that they're doing, definitely. Yeah, I've downloaded both and we can keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Caroline. I'll pop my email address in the chat for you as well.
Fantastic. Lovely to see those links being made just in a short session here. Okay, so we're just about at 1:30. So what I'm going to do is wrap the session up. So thank you so much again to Mabel and Caroline for coming along today and sharing your work. It's been really interesting, and we do very much appreciate that. We will be sending out a quick evaluation form after the session today, so that'll be automated through our Learning Academy. It'd be much appreciated if you could please fill that in. Our next session will be taking place on the 7th of October, and that's around proactive care, and it's developing a personalised proactive care toolkit with the PCNs in North Cumbria. That'll be with colleagues from the NHS Year of Care partnerships that you may have heard of. So thank you once again to everybody, and I hope you found this useful, and hopefully see you again soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.